Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Wednesday. We are on day 3 of Happiness Anchors, and today is Making Anchors Stick. So, as I mentioned yesterday, I'm going to go over tomorrow. We're going to go over from beginning to the end, which we're going to end with the science of happiness anchors. So, just waiting for a few people to come on, but just as kind of a recap, yesterday we did the rituals, the morning ritual, the midday resets, and the evening ritual, which is just basically things that you normally do in the morning, but kind of making it more of a set intention so that it kind of helps to anchor you and really kind of brace you for the day, or give you that midday pickup, or even help you just kind of relax at night. All right, so let's get going. Good morning, older sibling. So making anchors stick. Here we go. This requires intentionality. That's a word I've never heard before, but kudos to whoever came up with it. But yeah, making anchors stick requires intentionality. So number 1, start small. Begin with 1 or 2 until they become automatic. Number 2, protect these moments. Treat them as non-negotiable appointments for yourself. Okay, there's a word there that my writing. Oh, with yourself. Okay. Good morning, Muddy. And number 3, diversify your anchors. Create options for different environments and energy levels. And number 4, refresh periodically. What brings joy can evolve. Reassess your anchors every few months and then refresh. At the bottom here, I put reshape your relationship with time and let it work for you. So reshape your relationship with time and let it work for you. So again, this is about making anchors stick. All right. And again, yesterday I talked about what we do with the morning rituals, the midday resets, and the evening rituals. And again, there's nothing hooey about any of this. There's nothing woo-woo about when you say rituals. No, these are just things we do, like your morning coffee, your morning breakfast. Maybe cooking in the morning brings you joy. Your midday resets. What do you need to kind of keep you focused into the day? And of course, your evening rituals. Did I have a great day? Let's build on it. Did I have a bad day? What can I do to just kind of bring me back to center so that I don't go to bed with this and that I let it go? So those are the things that, we're talking about when we talk about rituals. So again, just to reiterate, research has shown that frequency is more effective than intensity when it comes to building happiness. A steady stream of small joys contributes more to lasting well-being. So getting into this again, making anchors stick requires intentionality. You have to really implement this into your life if you want to make them work for you. They're not just going to be like, oh, well, I'm going to do this and yeah. No, it's like anything else. It requires you. When they say, intentionality, they're saying when you continue doing it until it becomes automatic, you're doing it until it becomes a habit. And this number is like a moving number. But I heard, when I first learned it takes X amount of days to create a habit, it was 28. And then all of a sudden it was 21 and 28 to make it stick. So whatever it is, do it for at least 21 days. Okay, then you create the habit. If you do it for 28 days in a row, you will make it stick. and that's the whole point of this. So number 1, start small. Begin with 1 or 2 until they become automatic. So if we just look at yesterday's examples, right? We had coffee or reading or stepping into the AM air. Now, I know for the morning rituals, a lot of people are just kind of like, I don't have time to be doing all this stuff, or stepping into the AM air, or, reading in the morning. Because a lot of people value their sleep in the morning. They just want to sleep as long as they can. So you can do 1 or 2 things. You can either go to bed 20 minutes earlier and wake up 20 minutes earlier, or you can train yourself to wake up 20 minutes earlier if reading is something you want to do. It's a little hard though. Because if you're anything like me, once you get interested, it's hard to put it down. So you can read things. So if you're a person of faith, do a daily devotional, okay? Or just, pick a random thing out of your holy book. I don't mean your holy book like that. I mean whatever book that you turn your faith to, and then maybe that can be your passage for the day. Or I know people who have an app and it gives them a daily devotional daily. That was redundant. That gives them a daily devotional every day, and so you can try that too. And they're free, most of them, anyways. If you're not a person of faith like that, and you're just a spiritual person, you can take a few minutes to do breathing. Maybe while you're in the morning, while you're doing your morning constitutional on the throne, or maybe while you're doing your mouthwash, right? While you're swishing, just calm your mind. Think of something. Go to a place that's just yours, and then just kind of set the tone for the day. If you wake up, and we talked about this before, you stub your toe and you're like, all right, I can handle that. But then maybe you stub it again somewhere else, and that you're like, all right, look, is someone trying to tell me something? Am I going to have a bad day? You can go one or two ways. There's a fork in the road right there. You can either allow yourself to have a bad day, or you can find your center. And sometimes if you do this in the morning, if you find your center before you even get out of bed, maybe you can do the breathing, right? The ha breathing. Then you're allowing yourself to say, hey, no matter what comes at me today, I am going to face it like a champ. That doesn't mean your day is going to be perfect. All right. I do live in reality. All right. Not every day is going to be great. We are going to have bad days, but how we approach these bad days is really what can keep us towards the center, at least. All right. And that's why we have the morning, midday, and evening rituals. And I like that, the midday reset. It doesn't even say ritual. It's a midday reset. Just in case the morning may not be going that great, right? So you may be like, oh my God, So it's a reset, because you're saying, okay, look, you know what? I'm in the middle of my day. I still got X amount of hours left at work. What do I want to do? Do I want to focus on all the bad stuff that's happened so far, or do I want to try to make the rest of the day better? So it requires intentionality. Number 2, protect these moments. Treat them as non-negotiable appointments with yourself. If you choose to sit on your porch, or sit at a window, or sit at your table and maybe read their morning news or whatever, and enjoy that cup of coffee, you have to make sure that this is the appointment you have set for yourself. If you're a person that tends to lose track of time, you obviously make your coffee every morning. So set a timer, set a 15-minute timer, set a 10-minute timer, but just time for you that you need to keep with yourself. If you want to eat breakfast, just time for you. Make the time. And the best way to kind of stick to these habits is to keep it at the same time every day, or at least within the same 20-minute window, okay, of time, because you also don't want to make yourself late. So if there are things that you need to do to find these happiness anchors, you are going to have to make time for them. Okay. For me, a lot of times, my time would be on my way to work. I live in Southern California. I had traffic. No matter how short my drive was, I had traffic. So for a minimum of half an hour, I would have time. And, sometimes I'd get bored and I'd call older sibling. And other times I would just be like, no, you know what? I'd be singing in my car. I'd be doing this. I'd be doing that. Yelling at people, driving like idiots. But seriously, I'd have my morning coffee. But after a while, it just kind of became like a meditative thing. And I don't mean meditative where you're not paying attention. I mean, it's just, it was just, sometimes I would just leave it quiet. But it was my time. And it was just, me inside my little bubble with wheels, and, just making my way to work. So remember to protect these moments, treat them as non-negotiable appointments with yourself. Every single one. Your shower time in the evening, your lunch time in the afternoon, or maybe the daily walk you might want to take on your breaks during your midday reset. There's just a lot of different things that you can do. You might have a favorite lunch spot, or maybe there's a tree that has a bench nearby and you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to sit here for a while. So, we talked a little bit about that yesterday. If you were able to eat your lunch at your desk because you have a short lunch time, then do that. And then just, go outside and get some fresh air. So, number 3, diversify your anchors. Create options for different environments and energy levels. This is great. You don't have to, okay, so I think this feels more like an afternoon or an evening thing. So, we have the things that we do daily and, the little rituals that we'll come up with in the morning, the midday resets, and the evening. But what if you're going out with friends? What if you're a person who, just feels like they soak in everybody's energy, right? Like, oh my God. Or maybe you're just tired. And, you just don't want to say no this time because this is something you really, really want to do. Instead of being cranky, find your happiness anchors. Remind yourself, hey, you know what? I'm going out with people I care about. I was invited. I'm excited to be out there. But, things can happen, right? Again, there's traffic. There's rude people. No matter where you go, if you're not inside of your house, you are peopling out there. And there's always going to be those people or a person that decides to just be a jackass. So you get to choose. How do you react to it? How do I react to this? Do I throw down? Or do I just ignore them and just say, you know what? I hope you have the morning, day, or evening that you deserve. And with a smile and walk away. Don't let anyone steal your peace. I know like I said, I live in reality. Sometimes that's hard and it's going to happen. We are going to lose our shit. But what the happiness anchor is intended to do, it's to keep you from floating out away into the atmosphere, right? And just popping. The happiness anchor, when we reach for it, is there to say, okay, look, you know what? This happened. It's done. It's behind me. It's over with. And sometimes you have those people that just can't let it go, right? Just walk away. Walk away. It's not worth it. They're not worth it. That is somebody who's having an issue and they just need to fight with somebody. Don't give in to them. They don't deserve your energy. Okay? These strangers out there. Because sometimes I think they're just sent to poke us and test us, and they don't even, they might go home and go, what was that all about? Why was I even doing that? And sometimes we might be the person, right? Poking people. And that's why we have to have these happiness anchors, because we don't want to be that person doing this to other people, right? We don't want to be that pokey person. So, just diversify your anchors for the environments that you're going to be in. Obviously, morning coffee can be anywhere. If you're on vacation, you can still have your morning coffee, or your evening bath, or, your midday walk, or whatever it is you want to do. If you're on vacation, maybe there's someplace nice nearby. Everybody might be just like, oh, can we rest for a little while? And you might be, a little more energetic. You can go to the pool, you can go to the beach, wherever you're at. Diversify your anchors. Okay. If you have a book that you're reading that you love, or you have a book of passages that you like, bring it with you just in case, just in case there's something there for you that, maybe you don't want to go for a walk, but there's a nice veranda, right? And you want to sit on the patio and just, the lanai, and just enjoy yourself, enjoy your book, enjoy the quiet time while everybody else rests. It's all up to you. Whatever you choose to do to diversify your anchors, tailor them to you, tailor them to your needs. Nobody's sitting here asking you to run outside and try something new for 28 days, because that can be difficult, especially if you're not sure about it. But if it is something that you've been wanting to do, maybe you've been looking at this book, right, that you want to do. This can be where you start your reading every day. Just read one chapter or half a chapter, whatever you have time for. Maybe you like to make music. Find time to do that. It could even be your evening ritual. Whatever it is that you enjoy doing. All right. So, and number 4, refresh periodically. What brings joy can evolve. So reassess your anchors every few months. So yeah, things can evolve. There was a time where, the morning coffee just became like standard, right? It's like, okay, where's my coffee? And then every so often it was almost like when I would make my own morning coffee, I was just kind of like, because sibling has CRPS, so there are times when she has flare-ups, and like I said, I just leave her in her room. I don't want to go into her room and wake her up, and I remind myself, it's like, wow, it really is a privilege to have someone else make my coffee, because it tastes different. Because there's a different kind of love when your sister makes your coffee. So, but yeah, periodically we do need to refresh and reassess, because sometimes things can become just methodical. They can become more robotic than helpful, and it just becomes like, oh yeah, this is part of my routine, blah blah blah, and you stop seeing the benefit in it. Let's think about this for a second. What if we reassess the happiness anchors and ask ourselves, how can we make them feel fresh again? How can we make them feel alive again? Maybe you like the morning coffee. Maybe you like sitting at the table, but maybe it has become more of, just what we want it to do. We want it to become a habit, but we've now lost the meaning in it. So, you can probably toss that up by saying, hey, you know what? Maybe today while I'm having my morning coffee, instead of scrolling through my phone, which I don't advise if you're trying to have that morning ritual, but people will do it, or they'll play their games, and that's okay. But maybe this time instead say, hey, what if I'm drinking my coffee and I spend these 10 to 15 minutes, doing either like meditating or listening to, a guided meditation, or just sitting here in quiet and staring out my window and looking at the world. What if you changed it up like that? So you're still doing something you enjoy doing in the morning, but you're reminding yourself why you're doing this, why you're sitting here and taking this time to yourself to ground yourself before the day begins. If the walk that you're taking becomes a little, blah, it's like, yeah, I've seen that tree 5,000 times now. Go another way, walk somewhere else. There are many places to walk, or walk backwards, maybe you have a way. It's like, I'm going to go here, 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 and come back to here. Well, go the other way. I know that sounds silly, but believe it or not, it can make it feel different. It can. For me, when I get stuck on a story that I'm writing, I will just not journal. Well, I will journal, but, I'll start writing ideas down in one of my books, my idea books. And, and sometimes that helps me because I'm so kind of, robotic in one area now that it's like, yeah, I'm not feeling this anymore. And I think that's why for me in the past, that's why sometimes I've not finished a lot of my stories. And now I'm going back and saying, hey, you know what? This is my goal. My goal is to finish these things. And, a lot of it, I'm not sure if it's just because I would lose interest, because I don't think I ever lost interest because the stories would stay in my head. But I have this weird thing, like when I come to the end of something, it just feels sad. And I've done this with shows. There's like 2 shows that I've binge watched, and I hardcore binge watch them. But as I get closer to the end, like I was talking a couple months ago about how I was binging the show Bones, I have 3 episodes left. I've had 3 episodes left for about 2 months now. Supernatural. I'm a late bloomer to that show. I have a season left, and I'm just kind of like, I just stopped, and it's like, I really want to watch it, but it's going to end. So I'm trying to get that out of my head. I don't know where that comes from, to be honest with you. I don't know where this block, like, oh, okay, well, once I'm done with it, it's gone. No, it's not. It's still there on the TV. You can go back and watch your favorite episodes after that. You just finish it. But yeah, it's just something weird stuck in my head. So that's something I need to figure out how to do to get through that. And so now, for as far as writing goes, instead of saying, yeah, I don't know why I'm blocked on this story, I'll just start writing something else, and it reopens the flow of ideas for what I'm actually working on. So that's something that I personally do for myself. And that is something that I've found that I need to refresh every so often in order to stay on top of my own passion, which is writing. So, yeah, these are little things that we can do for our anchors. And remember, guys, it's the frequency, not necessarily the intensity of something. You know, you don't have to sit there and say, I'm going to go to the gym 10 days a week, you know, when there's only 7 days a week. Your body needs the rest. Okay, remember that. Your body needs at least 2 days of rest to recover itself, so you don't hurt yourself in the long run. But yeah, diversify your anchors. So again, this requires intentionality. Start small, begin with 1 or 2 until they become automatic. Protect these moments, treat them as non-negotiable appointments with yourself. Diversify your anchors and create options for different environments and energy levels. And again, your happiness anchors for this could be a million different things, right? Maybe, you know, the energy level at a sporting event is far different than the energy level if you're just having coffee with a friend. You know, I mean, you're just there. So just, you know, remind yourself, hey, you know what? I'm not expecting, you know, home runs or touchdowns or, you know, goals in any direction, hockey or soccer, to be scored here because I'm at a coffee shop. So you just remind yourself about the energy levels, okay, and the environment that you're in, and prepare yourself with, you know, by diversifying your happiness anchors. And again, refresh periodically. What brings joy can evolve. So reassess your anchors every few months. So this is what I find interesting. And I literally just caught this. So it says, start small, begin with 1 or 2 things until they become automatic. But then down here, it says refresh periodically. What brings joy can evolve. So again, when we talk about the automatic becoming a habit, if you feel like you are no longer getting anything out of this, but it is something you enjoy doing, it is something that you've made time to do, then do your best to toss it up a little bit, you know, sprinkle some magic into it. Like I said, with the morning coffee, you know, do a guided meditation, sit there and listen to the frequencies or the binaural beats or just the singing bowls and have yourself a little sound bath while, you know, you have your coffee. Just these little things we can do to make things different. And, you know, maybe the sound bath, you have a favorite sound bath. It's like, well, maybe toss that up a bit and listen to a different one and see how that works out, because you don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Because even though that's what the intention is to create that habit of having these, you know, set happiness anchors, we want to make sure that we still keep them fresh so that they do work for us. All right. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Tomorrow we'll be back here with the science and explain everything behind it and why it works. All right. So also tomorrow, since it is day 4 of happiness anchors, I'm going to go from start to finish. All right. We're going to read through that once, maybe talk a little bit about things. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask me either on the Facebook comments or the YouTube comments. Or wherever, you know, but especially if you want to come on live. I'll be back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public. Anybody can watch. All right. Under Shelly Marie Lucas, and on YouTube, I guess I called it the Aloha Perspective with Shelly Marie. So there you go. You can also find me across the board, either under the Aloha Perspective, Shelly Marie Lucas, or on Twitter, Shellbell's Quest. On Instagram, it is under Shelly Marie Lucas, because the Aloha Perspective is just kind of perspectiving itself in the wind right now. So anyways, have a great day, everybody. Sammy, or Muddy older sibling, thank you both so much for watching. And I will see everybody tomorrow. Have a great day.